Hello viewers, welcome back. So from this video, I'll be starting a new playlist named Power of Reporting in TallyPrime. So in Tally, you can generate thousands of reports based on the organization's requirement. So the heart of Tally is the power of reporting. So I'll be covering various reports and basically I'll be teaching you all the techniques that you can apply. Once you understand these techniques, it will be very easy for all of you to generate any kind of report that you are looking for. In this video, we will start with the financial statement, and the first report that we will see is the balance sheet. So let us go to Tally and explore the various techniques that we can apply for viewing the balance sheet as per your requirement. We will start our reporting with the financial statement. All of you are aware that financial statement constitutes two parts. One is the balance sheet and the other one is the profit and loss account. So what is a balance sheet? A balance sheet is a statement of assets, liabilities and capital. It states the financial position of the business on a given date. It is a statement prepared with a view to measure the exact financial position of a business on a particular date. In my fundamentals playlist, I have covered in detail explaining about the balance sheet, the need for balance sheet, and the constituents of balance sheet, which is asset and how asset is broken into various reporting format, and also the liability. I have provided the link in the description for you people to have a look at that and understand the fundamentals of the balance sheet and their components. Before we go into the reporting part, the company Ganeshji Enterprises has 2 years data where we will be using this data for our various techniques of analyzing the reports that we are going to view. Quickly, for us to see what is the financial year beginning from for this company, all you have to do is just click on company, click on alter, and if you notice here, the financial year beginning from is 1st of April 22. So this data has 2 years information, that is 22-23, which is the previous year, and 23-24 is the current year. Before we dive into the balance sheet reporting, I would want to give two very important secrets that all of you have to remember. Once you are able to recall the two secrets and apply in any report that you are viewing, it will help you tremendously in achieving the information that you are looking for by dissecting and looking the report in a 360-degree angle. Let us now go to the balance sheet. So the hotkey for balance sheet is B. I'm just going to press B and we are viewing the balance sheet in the condensed format. So the first secret is the right hand side button bar and the bottom button bar. If you notice, depending on the report that we are viewing, the buttons on the right hand side will have various buttons that you can use them for configuring the report the way you want to look at it. So this is your secret number one, right side button bar and the bottom button bar. So any information that you are looking for to have a different connotation to the information that you are looking, just remember your secret number one and see whether you have any actionable buttons that will aid you in getting the intended information that you are looking for. Right side button bar and the bottom button bar. That is your secret number one. Secret number two, very important. If you are not getting any actions from the right side button bar and the bottom button bar, on the right side button bar at the bottom, you have this F12 configure. Now this is very powerful configuration. This is your most important secret number two. So once you are not able to achieve using the right side or the bottom button bar, then press F12 configure, and F12 configure basically is the configuration related to the report that you are viewing. So basically this F12 configuration is a dynamic configuration where you will have options related to the main report that you are viewing. So just keep this in mind and we will realize that how critical and important are these two secrets as we start exploring various reports in Tally. By default, all reports in Tally will be condensed report. So if you want to see the report in the detailed format, remember your secret number one. And if you see on the right hand side button bar, whenever you see any button, even though the button here does not have any action, but you will observe that there is this blue color arrow pointing to the left, which means there are action buttons hidden inside this. So for you to see what is the hidden button here, all you can do is just click on the blue arrow here, and you will see that for you to view any report in detailed format, you have to use the keyboard shortcut, that is Alt F5. So whenever you see a hotkey with single underline, you use the Alt button. Otherwise also, what you can do is, if you want to see what are the hidden buttons inside, all you have to do is just press Alt key on your keyboard and hold it. Tally will show up all the Alt related action button. Now you are able to view the Alt F5 detail button. Now when I release the Alt key, it is hidden inside. Similarly, there are hotkeys related to control and the hotkey. So hold the control button, and when you press and hold the control button, you will notice here that Shut Company has the keyboard shortcut, which is F3 with double underline. Whenever you see a hotkey with double underline, you have to use the control key. When I release it here, you will see that just the hotkey F3 with company information. I'm holding control again. You will see the button is changed. So this way you can start exploring the buttons that you want to use for you to get the information. Now we want to see the balance sheet in the detailed format. Since we know that the hotkey for detailed format is Alt F5, I'm going to press Alt F5, and immediately you will see that the balance sheet is displayed in the detailed format. Now important thing that we have to understand here, that in all the reports of Tally, when you are viewing any report in the detailed format, Tally will explode only to the first level of the grouping or the subgrouping. So what do I mean by that? If you notice here, any name you see in bold is an indication that it is a group. And if you observe here, just below capital, you have two names, which is capital Sanjay Sharma and capital Vijay Verma. It is not in bold, it is in italic. So any name which represents in italic, we have to understand that it is a ledger. So here, the first level of capital account is ledgers classified under the capital account. So that is why you are able to view the group and the immediate next level, that is the ledger here. Similarly, if you see here, fixed asset has got four names here and they are in italic, which means these are the next level which are ledgers classified under the group of fixed asset. Now come down to current asset here. So you will observe that there is this sundry debtors, cash in hand and bank account. They are neither in bold nor they are in italic. So what do we understand by this? Whenever you see a name in the report which is neither bold nor italic, it is an indication that it is a subgroup, second level of grouping. Now in all the reports, like I had mentioned, you cannot further break down into the subsequent levels. So you can't put your cursor here and try to expand the bank account, or you cannot expand the sundry debtors account. So if you have to analyze the second level of grouping, then ideally you have to select this and then drill down to the next level to see the detailing. For example, if I want to see the list of sundry debtors, all I have to do is select sundry debtors and press enter. It will take you to the next level. So we see here sundry debtors ledgers here. Just escape, we are back in the report. Now if you want to condense this report, all you have to do again, just remember the keyboard shortcut. If you press Alt F5, it is going to collapse. Alt F5 again is going to explode the report. We are viewing the current year balance sheet. Let us say, as the management or as the owner of the organization, you want to compare the previous year balance sheet figures with the current year balance sheet for you to analyze. So how are we going to get the previous year information in the new column so that you can compare the figures of your balance sheet? Now this is where you are going to use your secret number one. On the right hand side button bar, you have this button called new column, and the keyboard shortcut is C with single underline, that is Alt C, or you can click here new column. When you click here on new column, Tally is going to ask you in the new column what is the period that you want to bring in the new column. Now here again, Tally's magic of date is very handy. Like for example, you want to see now the previous year balance sheet, that is the previous financial year. The previous financial year starts from 1st of April 2022 and ends on 31st of March 2023. Now you don't have to waste your time and start typing 1st of April 2022. All you have to do is just type A. When you type A, Tally will automatically know that you want the from date starting from 1st of April 22. So type A, 22 is year. A for the month and 22 is for the year. And when you press enter, you will observe that tally is automatically picked up 1st of April 2022. In the 2, we want as on 31st of March 23. So again, just type M and type 23. Tally will know that you want the to date to the last day of the financial year. The method of stock valuation, we will get into the understanding of this as we move into the other reports. For the time being, you just select as default and the value to show is the actual value you want to see and press enter. The moment you press enter, you will now observe that the current year balance sheet is in the first column and the previous year balance sheet values are there in the second column. See, now it is comfortable and easy for you to start comparing your balance sheet position current year versus your last year. Example, if you see the current asset of the current year is 1 crore 11 lakh 97,000 and odd, whereas in the previous year it was only 72 lakh 14,000 and odd, which means you have a better current asset position in the current year. So this way you can start comparing and analyze the information that you are looking for. So now we have finished viewing the previous year information and now you want to just remove this column and come back to your current year balance sheet. So how do we do that? Again, secret number 1, on the right hand side button you have this button called delete column. So all you have to do is just remember before you delete the column, one is this is the particulars column which you cannot delete, and the yellow band that we are seeing here is the current cursor position. So whichever column you want to delete, take your cursor to the column. So I have taken my cursor to the previous year balance sheet figures column and now I am going to click on delete column, or you can use your keyboard shortcut Alt D. So click on delete column, the column gets deleted. Now important thing, by deleting the column, you are not deleting any information or data. You are only removing the additional column that you had brought in for comparative analysis. The next technique is that, let us say the companies which are registered under MCA, their balance sheet is always in the vertical format. Now this balance sheet that we are viewing, generally we call this as T format of the balance sheet. Now if you want to view your balance sheet in the vertical format, how do we get it? Or does Tally has the option for you to view the balance sheet in the vertical format? Yes, Tally has the option. All you have to do is just again use your secret number 1 and you see here there is this button called change view. So click on change view. You have this option where it says, do you want to view the balance sheet in vertical? Just click on vertical and now your balance sheet is represented in the vertical format with the information of source of fund, which is nothing but your liabilities, and application of fund, which is your asset. Now once you convert this into vertical format, every time now when you come into the balance sheet, Tally will retain this configuration and it will always display your balance sheet in the vertical format. For example, I just escape and when I come back to balance sheet again, it will always be in the vertical format, and you notice here once you go back and come again, it is going to display in the condensed format. Press Alt F5 to view it in the detailed format. The next requirement, let us say that you want to view your balance sheet with working capital. So how do we arrive at the working capital? The working capital is arrived by taking into account your current asset, total of your current asset values minus the total of your current liability value will be the working capital. So if the current asset is more than the current liability, then it is a positive working capital, and if your current liabilities are more than your current asset, then it is a negative working capital. Now if you want to view your balance sheet with the working capital information, how do we do that? You don't have to take a calculator and see what is the current asset value minus the current liability value. You don't have to do that. So there is an option in Tally where you can view your balance sheet with the working capital information. So how do we do that? Again, on the right hand side button bar, you have this button called basis of value. Click on basis of value and you have the first option here, include working capital. By default this is going to be no. Now if you want to enable this or set it to yes, all you have to do is just press enter. Now these options are called toggle button. That is, one enter will reverse the option or enable the option. So it was no. When I pressed enter, it became yes now. Now if you want to make it as no, again press enter it will toggle to no. So we'll say enter again, it is toggle to yes. And in this case, you don't have to save this configuration. Tally will remember this configuration. Either you can press Ctrl A to save it, or just press escape, and now you will observe that your balance sheet report is taking into consideration your current asset minus your current liability, and it is depicting your working capital. So it says for this company the working capital is 1 crore 9 lakh 62,000 and odd. How did this value arrive? Tally is also telling you the total of your current asset less the current liability. That is how the working capital has been arrived, and now you are able to see your balance sheet with the working capital. The next interesting thing that we will see here is that, let us say in this company the figures are in crores, and if the figures are in thousands of crores, then it becomes little difficult for you to comprehend the value. And the reporting of Tally, basically if you see important information, that each information or each column of the information are predefined. That means what you are seeing here in the first column and the second column, the width is predetermined. So if you are having any value beyond the predetermined width of character, it will start now squeezing. So one is you have to really squint your eyes to comprehend the value, because it is going to have only that much of defined character it has. It will start now squeezing. Now how do we handle this in case if you have large values where it becomes difficult for the person who is viewing at the balance sheet take a little extra time in understanding the values? Okay, now Tally has a beautiful feature called scaling factor. What is scaling factor? We must have seen in various reports, especially if you see public limited companies. If you happen to view their financial statement, you will see their figures are actually scaled in lakhs or in crores. Can we do that in Tally? Yes. Again, you see here on the right hand side button bar, you have this button called basis of value. Click on basis of value, and you have this third option which says scale factor. So the default is your default value. Now when you enter here, Tally is giving you the list of scale factors. That is, if you want to scale it to crores or hundreds, lakhs, millions, 10 lakhs, 10 millions, 10,000, thousands, and if you have any other scaling factor which you want to do it, Tally also gives you the flexibility of creating your own scaling factor apart from the scaling factor. Now for our understanding, let us take scaled factor in lakhs. Just select this, and again you can just press escape, and you will now see these figures are quite simpler to comprehend. Now you have to understand what is the scaling factor that is applied. So if you see here on top, it says the figures are in lakhs. So we know that capital account, if it is 32, it is 32 lakhs, and it rounds off with the normal rounding off. So this way it becomes easy for any person to quickly read the balance sheet and consume the information. So if you want to again revert it back, all you have to do is just again come to basis of value, come to scale factor and select default, and then just press escape, and we are back into the default values that we are viewing. So important thing, these 4 buttons that we are seeing plus this 2 and this 4. So literally these 10 buttons which are there will be available literally in almost every report of Tally. So the technique that we are going to learn, which is what I mentioned, is that how are we going to understand and use these buttons. So one, we saw new column and we understood what is the purpose of new column and how as a user you can define your new column. And once you add any new column, now you will observe that the delete column is inactive. That means there are no additional column. So once you add any new column, the delete column will get activated, and you can go and delete or remove the additional column that you have brought in. Each of this button will have the options related to the main report that you are viewing. So if you see in the basis of value, we have working capital in case of balance sheet, scale factor we have in case of balance sheet, and other reports also you will have. So certain options will be available as common information, again depending on the report or the information that you are seeing. Logically, Tally brings the associated actionables or configuration that you can do for those reports. So stock valuation method, again, we will discuss this when we go into the stock valuation part. Now quickly, I'll show you one more very important button that will be very useful for especially the chartered accountants when they are reviewing the financial statement or when they are auditing the books of account of their clients, tax consultants, auditors. So one is that let us say that in this case we are viewing the balance sheet. If you see, the sundry debtors value is positive and your sundry creditors value is also positive, which is 1,07,000. Now let us say for some reason if the data entry operator or accountant, if they have wrongly classified the grouping of these ledgers. So what do you mean by wrongly classifying? If we go to the fundamentals of accounting, so we know that there are only 4 primary accounts as far as accounting is concerned. That is, the 4 primary accounts are assets, liabilities, income and expenses. Now each one of them, based on the double entry system of accounting and based on the golden rule of accounting, they carry a default balance. Assets should always carry a default balance of any ledger where the balance is in the debit value. Similarly, any ledger which has got credit value, then it has to be a liability in case of a balance sheet. When you come to the profit and loss account, we have 2 primary group. One is incomes and expenditure. So all income should carry a closing balance of credit balance, and all expenses should carry a closing balance of debit balance. Now, if there is any wrong classification, let me quickly demonstrate and show you that how wrong classification sometimes will be camouflaged and it will be difficult for us to look at the face of the any top report. So let's say I go to sundry debtors editor and I'll take this Prerana Enterprises, and instead of classifying as part of sundry debtors, now since sundry debtors is part of asset, you will observe that all the balances are having debit balance. Now by mistake, let us say somebody is gone and grouped it under sundry creditors. So how do you now view the master alteration screen? A shortcut key which you can use in any report or even in your master creation or in your voucher entry. So if you want to view the master information, all you have to do is put the cursor on the master which you want to see the master information and press Control Enter. Control Enter will take you to ledger alteration screen. So this is actually correctly classified under sundry debtors, and let us say by mistake if it is classified under sundry creditors, I am going to press Ctrl A and you will now observe there is no major change except that, so again sundry creditors is still showing you 14,795 as your credit balance, and your sundry debtors are also showing you some figure which is in the positive value. So when you are seeing this information, it becomes difficult for you to quickly see if there are any wrong classification that has happened in the balance sheet. So how do we now, the moment you go into the balance sheet, how do we see whether all the ledgers that have been created have been classified properly under the respective groups and subgroups of your balance sheet of assets and liabilities? So this is where Tally helps you, that on the right hand side button bar you have one very handy button which is exception report. So when you click on exception report, the keyboard shortcut is Ctrl J. When you click on exception report, Tally is now asking you, do you want to see the negative ledger? So the negative ledger is that any of the ledger which do not have the default balance which I just now mentioned, so those ledgers are considered as negative ledger. So in our case, if you see, we had gone and changed the grouping of Prerana Enterprises from sundry debtors to sundry creditors, even though the ledger had a balance of debit balance. So by clicking negative ledger, Tally will quickly go and look for these odd behavior from the normal behavior of the ledger balances, and it is going to quickly highlight you and show you the exception. So here Prerana Enterprises, if you see here, though it has got a debit balance here, it is wrongly put under sundry creditors, or we don't know what is this negative thing. So it has got debit balance. So how do we again look into the master configuration? Just press Ctrl Enter and you will now observe that though this ledger is having debit balance, it is wrongly classified under sundry creditors. The other use case also could be that, see, in some cases, in some businesses, there will be a party where they will be selling to that particular party, and also they might be buying from that party. So Tally allows you to have one single ledger and start making your purchase entry and sale entry for that single ledger. Now, when you're finalizing your balance sheet, you will see what is the final balance outstanding as on the reporting date, which is as on 31st of March. So, if the party is having credit balance, and originally if we have classified under sundry debtors, while finalizing your books of account, you can go and modify it so that it gives you the correct classification or correct information for your balance sheet reporting. So this is where the exception report is going to really help in quickly looking into any exceptions in the report. So as we keep moving to various reports, we will also see how this exception report will help to identify exceptions of different nature. So now what we are going to do, we are going to come here and then change this to sundry debtors, enter, and the moment I save this, just observe what happens. When I press Ctrl A, the exception is vanished, escape, and now you are back. So this way, if any ledger, if they are not classified properly, simple thing, it is basically, whether it is debit balance or credit balance, the primary classification is what Tally will look into it. That is asset as debit, liability as credit in this case. So we will explore the other buttons, and also we will go into each one of these buttons in various report and try and understand how we can leverage these buttons, which is your secret number 1. So in this session, we learned how and when to use basis of value, change view we explored, exception report we explored new column, we explored delete column, and the other buttons we will explore when we go to the appropriate report, so that we can understand the power of this secret number 1, which is your right hand side button bar. We have not used F12 configure. We will explore that in the right report, and we have also not explored the bottom button. We will do so. I hope couple of techniques that we learned in the balance sheet reporting will be of great help for all of you. Just remember these two important secrets that I had mentioned earlier, and we will explore more such techniques as we keep viewing different financial statement or any report that we are going to see. So thank you all once again for staying till the end. See you all in the next session. Thank you very much.